Hello, everyone. It is Christopher coming to you, maybe for the first time on this edition of the Downburst. But if you've been a faithful follower, I really appreciate it. So, a little bit about this program before we get started. I've been doing this I've been doing this for quite a while. Actually, I just got something on Facebook today. Said today was my 9-year anniversary of starting Christopher King Weather. And so I've been doing this, like I said, for a while, where on the evening of a severe weather event, I would go into a little bit more detail about our risk, what I'm thinking as far as the forecast is concerned, because right now the latest zero Z information has come in from the HRRR, which is going to give us a really good look of what we could be expecting for tomorrow. Unfortunately, at the time of this video, it doesn't go all the way out to Tuesday. I'll show you that in just a minute. So we'll have to look. I'll pull the Euro model so we can kind of get an idea of what to expect. So, thank you all again for taking the time on a Saturday, or how about Saturday night, Sunday night. Like I said, Touch by an Angel has been off the air for 20 years, but somebody said that they have all the episodes on DVD. That's lovely. I do love to interact, and I can see all of your comments right off screen over here. And so, if you wouldn't mind telling me maybe like where you're watching from, your location, that would really help me when we're looking at forecasts here. I can kind of tailor that specifically. I want to know where, do I have my Maury County people here, my Columbia people, my Marshall County, my Bedford County, my Moore, Franklin, and Coffee and Grundy folks. I'd love to know where you guys are watching from. So, we're going to go ahead and dive down right into it. So, the first thing I want to do is take a look at headlines, kind of outline to you kind of how today is going to go. Thank you, Smyrna. Wow. All right, there we go. Moore County. That's my home. That's where I graduated high school from. So, I'm a Lynchburg native. So, just so y'all know that. Um, let's go. Gonna see a graphic package a little bit different. Me being at home here at HQ for Christopher, I tried to pull some of it, but a lot of this stuff, just to dive deep, I just use my pivotal weather stuff that I've had for years, as far as forecast models are concerned. So, what you're looking at right now is the outlook for tomorrow. And so, just so you guys know, the way the SPC runs an outlook. So this would start basically, not to get too far into the weeds here, but this will be for basically break of dawn, Monday into the break of dawn Tuesday. So when you see a Monday outlook, it also includes the overnight hours of Tuesday. Okay. And so portions of Middle Tennessee are under a slight risk. So, excuse me, a marginal risk. I'll start there. So that darker green right there is just a marginal risk. Hopefully you can if you can see here, I'm clicking. Yeah, you can see my cursor now. Perfect. And so right here, we're looking at a marginal risk. So that's a level 1. The really light green, probably never talked too much about that, but that's just saying, hey, good old thunderstorms are going to be in the area. So once we move, it's basically just the farther we go to the west, the more severe that it gets. So once we travel out of like Franklin County, Grundy, Coffee, Bedford, we're under that marginal risk, which is a level 1. Then we get over here into portions of extreme northeast. northwest. Let me get my directions correct, Christopher. It is 9 o'clock after all. Northwest Marshall, and then all of Maury County is under a level 2, which is a slight risk of severe weather. And so when I look at a pattern like this, basically what I see storms that are really potent up here to the northwest. That's really going to be the epicenter. And honestly, it's probably going to be a pretty severe outbreak up there. Even on the eve, if we don't even mention anything else, we know tomorrow is the 15-year anniversary of the April 27th, 2011 super outbreak. And I know many of you in this chat watching me right now, you definitely saw um, how destructive things were, and honestly, how lucky we were, but our neighbors to the south weren't. And so, basically, we're going to have a lot of storms fire off here, and as they travel to the east, the forecast is that the environment has less energy in it to keep these storms long lived. However, we'll continue to look at what the latest forecast says. You have to understand this was probably put out about I think the latest update was 2:30 in the afternoon, something like that. So now let's break it down into all the different threats. So when I say threats, I'm talking tornado, I'm talking wind, and I'm talking hail. Okay. So tornado threat, pretty much non-existent, other than there is a 2% risk right there in portions of Maury County. So it's a small risk, but it's a risk nonetheless at the timing of this. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like when we get a little bit farther into it for tomorrow morning. Most of the activity tornadic wise looks to be up here. I've got some forecast models that say this actually may change a little bit. But if you don't know what all this other stuff is, these dashes and all this, when it ever gets to us, basically the dots here say some tornado in that area is going to produce at maximum an EF2. The solid lines suggest that any tornado in that area would produce a maximum of an EF3. It doesn't mean every tornado. It just means there's a possibility of a tornado or a few that do that as well. So you don't see that down here. So that would leave us to believe that any tornado that would happen would be a small, like brief EF0, EF1 kind of tornado. But albeit there's my albeit meter. It's a 2% risk. Okay. So hail, non-existent. I'm not even concerned about it. The hail risk is going to be way off to our west. The wind risk is where we end up with our biggest chances. And so let's try to lay this out for us. So right here in Maury County, you're under a 15%. Basically, this area, that yellow, constitutes that the beginning edges of the slight risk. Okay. And then as we move off into the brown section, we are looking at a 5%. So our wind is absolutely our greatest threat that we will see tomorrow with these storms. And you can see that huge hot pink of 45%, but none of that's in the significant category as far as wind speed. So we're going to say that winds stay closer to 60 miles an hour here. And so that's something the Storm Prediction Center, I'm down here in this corner underneath Pivotal Weather. They have done I thought it was going to be terribly confusing at first, but it's really not. They do a wonderful job of outlining not only the types of severe weather, but the severity of those. Okay. And so now what I want to do is I want to fast forward real quick, and I want to look at Tuesday. And so because it's a day 3, I can't get into the tornado, hail, and all of that stuff. I can't get into the threats. All I can show you is that we're currently under a slight risk. That's a big area right there. And the reason why they made this area so big is the Storm Prediction Center had different models had storms scattered in different areas. So they wanted to kind of broaden that out. I've got a feeling that probably tomorrow some of this is going to change. So they're going to massage that and fine tune where they think the best areas are going to be of that slight risk. And then with a probability, it puts it at a 15%. So that's all we know as of right now, the highest percent of anything. And before I get too far away from this, what I would say is that when you talk about being inside of these risks, whether it's a 15% or I go back up here and we talk about the 45%, that's basically all of Illinois. Basically, what it means, if my home base is Tullahoma. And so if I'm looking in Tullahoma and it's a 5% risk, that means I have a 5% chance of seeing a severe wind event within a 25-mile radius of my location. Move over to the west a little bit and you look at Maury County, if I'm dead there center in Columbia, that means I have a 15% chance of seeing a severe weather event within a 25-mile radius of that location. So that's what these actually mean as far as like getting into the nitty-gritty, okay? And that's the sort of stuff that you're going to get with me here on the Downburst, because my day job, as some of you may know, I'm an educator. I've been a teacher for almost 20 years. And so you can't take the teacher out of the teacher, regardless if they're a meteorologist or not. It just happens. So now what we want to do is now we've seen all these threats. I want to start looking at what model data is saying. So the first thing we're going to go to is the good old handy dandy HRRR. So bam, here we are, HRRR. This is Monday at midnight. So what I want to do is I want to look at timing. When are these storms going to fire off? And be in our area. So what you want to do is you want to look right up here at the top where my cursor is going round and round and round. That is the timestamp. So that's what we think that the radar is going to look like at a certain time. And please understand, that does not mean that the radar is actually going to look like this, okay? Absolutely not. It's not. It's yeah. It's we think that I don't know. We just think that that's going to happen. The thing that meteorologists ask the most is where's the placement going to rain be? That is the least correct portion of weather forecast models, least reliable at least. All right, so let's start fast forwarding. So we're in the wee hours of Monday morning here. So I'm just going to go to noon. Okay, so here's what we have at noon. Everything is off to our north. Got some pretty big storms firing off there in the Paducah, Kentucky area and going north up into Illinois. So as we fast forward this now in getting into Monday afternoon, so this is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5, 6, 7. Nothing. Okay. Everything according to the HRRR is north of our location right now. So 8 o'clock, and look over at, and I'm pointing at the screen even though you can't see it. Look over at the Mississippi River. You see over there some storms starting to fire off. They start getting a little bit more coverage. So I'm going to back this up. So we're looking at 10 p.m. right now, and I'll go to 11 p.m. And that's when we start seeing the first showers and storms enter the southern Tennessee weather coverage area. So my guys over here in the eastern half of that, my Franklin County guys, my Coffee County folks, Grundy County, it's not going to get to you guys quite yet, but at 11 o'clock, that's when our first storms hit. So this is the slight risk area, okay? So what I want to do right now is just kind of keep fast forwarding it. And here's what 12 o'clock is going to look like. So midnight, we're getting into these little individual cells right here. Probably could produce some wind. Getting into Bedford County. 1 a.m., it's kind of still very, very organized, as you can tell by the look on screen here. 2 a.m. So really, like my Manchester people, my Tullahoma people, my Lynchburg people, we're at 2 a.m. Now, keep in mind, this could change. I tell everybody this isn't gospel here, okay? It doesn't mean it exactly 2 a.m. If you were to wake up, and Christopher said it wasn't, he said it was, no, 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 no. Estimated, okay? So 3 o'clock, it's still rocking and rolling, man. We got storms on the backside of this. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Finally out of the area by 10 a.m. Now, to answer your question, yes, we're going to get rain. And we're going to get quite a bit. We could have up to 2 to 4 inches of rain. I was in a weather briefing this morning or this afternoon with the National Weather Service, and they mentioned that we're definitely going to get some rain out of this. Okay, so let's me back it up again because I know you're going to want to see that again. So this is 11 o'clock. So really the 11 p.m. time frame. And if we have anything that's severe, Elijah and I are going to be on. You're going to get to see my pretty face a lot more. We'll be rocking and rolling, giving you guys coverage to keep you guys safe, let you know where the storms are headed. But starting at about 11 o'clock, and then it just keeps rolling through southern middle Tennessee. And it gets out of here at about 10 a.m. Okay? So That's going to be the threat for Monday going into Tuesday. Okay. So somebody just said, what day is it? Just right up here in the left corner. You check it out right here, big man. You'll see where it says Tuesday, April 28th. Right up here is the timestamp in the corner. That'll help you. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, and I want to kind of dive down deep, is I know when the storms are going to get here, but what exactly are we going to see with the storms? And so now what I want to do is I'm going to do something called a sounding map. Okay. It's going to get a little geeky nerdy here, but it's going to allow me to see kind of what's going on in the atmosphere. And I already know, I've already looked at this, and I'm going to give you kind of my honest take right here. So I'm going to just click on Columbia, and we're going to view a sounding, and then we're going to go to the skew chi. You're going to see me, whoop, everything change. You don't see me anymore, but you see the actual skew T chart right here. And what we're seeing is if I've got basically all the markers I'm looking at here, and you're going, oh no, what is all this stuff? This is just a sounding map of what we think the atmosphere is going to look like, not just at the surface, but aloft up in the atmosphere. As a meteorologist, as folks that know the weather, you've got to look, not just look at what's happening at the surface, but you've got to look above that as well. So what I'm looking at is, you may have heard some of these words like cape. The cape is me. It's modest. It's not anything to write home about. But definitely what I'm looking at is I start looking here. And I'm noticing that the wind is changing direction with height, and it is increasing a little bit. As a matter of fact, our shear number is Papa can't read very well. I got cataracts. Even at 41, I've got cataracts. And so I have to close one eye sometimes to look. That says 57 on the shear. Okay. That is very organized and pretty potent shear markers right there. The 0 to 8 is 46. That's almost supercell territory, but it's not quite there yet. What I'm looking at is I definitely think we'll definitely see a wind risk based out of this profile right here. Um, the storm relative helicity numbers are kind of off the charts too. The only thing that's really holding this back is the Cape, and I think that's why they're saying a marginal tornado threat. So we could see a tornado warning. I don't know. There's a, like, again, what is it, a 2% chance? And I know we go 2%, no big deal. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here as far as this sounding is concerned. I'm looking at the hodograph over here. The hodograph is saying, hey, the speed, the wind is changing direction with height, and it's also increasing in speed. Those are all the things that you need. Those are all the ingredients. The ingredients that we just don't have enough of is Cape. It's there, especially since you've got wacko shears sitting over here. There's just going to be a lot of wind energy, okay? And so that's really breaking it down for my Columbia folks, okay? So what I want to do is I won't get out of this. I'm going to fast forward it, and I'm going to see what does the atmosphere look. Oh, you can't see me. Hold on. I'm talking, but you can't see me. Now you can see me. There we go. Now I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit and look as we get a little bit farther down into maybe like Bedford County, Coffee County, Franklin, Moore, and see what we got going on here in this environment. So this is 1 a.m. So a couple hours later, I'm going to take a sounding map basically right at Tullahoma. I'm going to see what's going on here. And look at what I see. Okay. I don't know if you see it as I trust me, I'll screw up and hit a button or something. Eventually, I'll probably like mute the mic on accident, and everybody's going to start saying, "Hey, can't see, I can't hear you." My CKWX people know you laugh at that because I've done that many a times. Look at my cape, guys. Wah, 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 wah. Got enough wind energy. I mean, it's all there. The numbers, I mean, it's like all the numbers are there in place, but the cape is just not there. And so what cape is, okay, just to kind of explain, and I'll go back to this so I can look at you. Oh, you can't really see me because I'm kind of dark. What happened there? Let me close this off so you can see me a little better. There we go. Now you can see me a little better. Turn the lights on. How about that? Cape is basically how robust and how fast winds can accelerate in an updraft. Okay, the more cape you have, the more instability. I'm sure you've heard that word used with cape before. If you can't get those really fast, robust updrafts, you just don't have enough oomph in the storms. Think of it like storm fuel. You need that to be able to get these updrafts, high reaching, fast speeds inside. And so when you see no cape, it's like, hey, we've got the wind, but these storms won't fire off, and maybe they look terribly impressive if you look at them on radar, but according to what I'm looking at, the forecast model says, hey, they may look kind of big, bad, and mean, but the cape's not there. So we'll just have to continue to look at that and see if those numbers still hold true. That would be a very good sign for us as far as the severity of weather. Okay. So that being said, I'm still going to move things along and go ahead and view the sounding right there. And let's just see what goes on when I view the SQT here. So let me take a minute and look at that. And again, guess what? Got definitely a ton of shear, but I just don't have the cape. And that's what I'm looking at down here, these numbers to tell me I just don't have any cape there. So once these air parcels try to lift, there's not really much to get them to speed up. And that's what you want them to do. All right. So that being said, we'll just have to wait and see. This is what the forecast models say. This isn't really what could possibly happen, but as these storms kind of move through, I'm just kind of interested to see as this little second wave comes through. Oh, so we've got a little bit of cape that comes in on the backside of this. So what we'll have to kind of look at a little bit more cape that all of a sudden just went and kind of creeped up in there, didn't it? And all of our numbers look really good as far as what a tornado would be. So what we want to look to see is if somehow, some way, that maybe portions of this get re-energized, it'll just have to be left up to be seen. So it could be a long night. I guess we can jokingly say Elijah and Christopher, sponsored by Folgers Coffee, right? The best part of not going to sleep is Folgers in your cup, right? So that is kind of getting a little geeky nerdy right there. This is exactly what we do here on the Downburst, okay? And so that is Monday going into Tuesday. What I want to do is kind of show you more of a regional look, not just kind of zoomed in on Tennessee. Sometimes we can zoom in so close we can't see the forest for the trees. And so I think it's a good idea to kind of see the big picture of this. And so this is 7 o'clock. The timestamp is up here, but now with pivotal weather, when you get outside of a local time zone, it goes into Zulu time. So long story short, just take away 5 hours from that, and then that would be the time that you would need. So that would be 1500, and 1500 is 7 p.m. So don't worry, I'm not going to quiz you at the end of this, okay? And so here are those storms that fire up. And then I'm really concerned about our folks in Arkansas. That is pretty impressive looking right there on radar. So if you got friend, I used to have family that lives over in that was in BB, Arkansas, this a little bit northeast of Little Rock. And so if you've got friends over there, you might want to tell them, hey, this is not looking good over there. If you really want to see, which has nothing to do with us, what you would look at a sounding here. Yeah. I don't even know if I can zoom in where you can see that or not. Nope. PDS tornado. That's what we call a loaded gun situation. That's when you have numbers maxed out. So I want you to see what a worst case scenario looks like and notice how our numbers look vastly different from that. The funny thing is they don't look all that different here in the wind shear. It's the cape and the difference of the cape. That's the big change. And so just kind of give you an idea, not that that pertains to us, but in long form stuff, we can talk about stuff like that. And yeah, you can just see how big that line is coming through. And then it just kind of goes away. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep going so you can start to see our next storm system, and it goes and it stops right there. I could only get to 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Okay, so I mean Tuesday. Sorry, I don't know why I said Wednesday. This is 7 p.m. Tuesday. Okay, and so this is as far out as this model goes. I wouldn't be able to get another one for another 6 hours. And so what I have to do is I have to go over to the Euro. And so this is what the Euro looks like versus the HRRR. So I'll go back and forth, and let me hit the button so you can actually see it better. And so that's the HRRR, and that's the Euro. The HRRR's got a lot more convection up here in parts of Tennessee than the Euro model does. The Euro model's got it sagging more to the south, and I think that's why they've had that big 15% risk category, okay? And so, I kind of have to eliminate this for a minute and come over here and show you guys kind of what happens here. The Euro really has, and I'll go this route actually first. And so the Euro really has most of those storms kind of going off to the south, but yet around 4 a.m. we get a ton of storms that kind of pop in here. And so I want you to understand, because the Euro it isn't high resolution necessarily. I only get 3 hour increments here. So I go from 6Z to 9Z. And so to do the math, that'd be 1 in the morning, and that would be what, 4 in the morning. And so I could look at a sounding to see what this says. And it says none, according to this, but it's already raining at that point. And so what I probably need to do is I need to back it up one. Let me back this up one. And to see exactly what it says, it still says none. So it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how all that times out for us. What I will do now is I'll just go to a more zoomed in look. And I'll see a couple of your questions. I'll answer them just a minute. So hang on. So I see 10 p.m., 1 a.m., 4 a.m. is when that stuff could hit us. I'm really interested, and I don't want to say much more on timing and anything until this HRRR comes into better focus. And when it does, I think we have a little bit better idea. HRRR is a reliable one. If you followed me for any length of time, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of folks rely on that one. So before I get into anything else, let me look at some questions. Do we need capes of 100 joules per kilogram to get severe weather? Frankie, yes and no. You hear that a lot from meteorologists, like 1,000 is the threshold, but you have to understand that you can have situations where if the shear is absolutely insane, it doesn't take a thousand joules per kilogram of cape to be able to initiate thunderstorms and even have them rotating. So even though that the numbers may be lower, if everything else is kind of maxed out, it kind of evens itself out. Especially in the cold weather seasons, we don't have to have 1,000 joules per kilogram to have a tornadic event. So we use 1,000 as a good rule of thumb, but that's not always. You have to also look at what else is going on in the atmosphere. The cape is not the end all be all. It's the one people talk about the most, but really wind shear has a lot more to do with updraft speeds, enhancing updraft speeds, long-lived supercell tornadoes, and the formation of supercells. Okay, so you can have a ton of cape, you don't have a ton of shear, you're not going to get in supercells necessarily. I think if you're on a phone, you can turn it sideways. Yes, probably so. Everything I'm doing's in uh, widescreen mode because I'm on the computer here. Um, can you decrease the size of the graph and decrease the size of the comments? Can't see the detail on the maps. I mean, when I get zoomed in, I can, but as far as the comments, that's something that's a Facebook thing, because I noticed you're on Facebook. I would just turn the comments off, honestly. Um, and because I'm, like I said, I've got them over here. I'm actually looking at all of you guys and the folks that are watching. So I know this is a lot of you guys are new to me. So some of my folks that I've seen on here that are watching, that are my people that have been watching me for a while, if you can give them some tips and tricks, that would be most appreciative. So because I've got folks watching on YouTube right now, and then both I'm simulcasting on Christopher King weather and also Southern Tennessee weather. So real quick, when I kind of push that back, I'm just kind of looking at this going, hey, I could zoom in if you'd like me to look at some of these numbers. I just have to be very careful here. Over here in this area, Cape is negligible. And I'm noticing this. The wind profile looks a lot different here. Yes, the wind is. So if I zoom in right here, you can see this. The wind is not turning as much with height. And that's probably why our shear is a more moderate number. So one of the numbers I start to look at is this number can tell me the type of storms that we have necessarily, and this number right here could tell me whether or not if it's a supercell, could it be long lived. For instance, this number is 55. The threshold is 50, give or take, but the surface the 6 kilometer cape has to be almost over 40, really 35 to 40. So it's kind of within range. But again, just not a lot of change with height. The photograph kind of looks a little messy. And so when I kind of zoom out here, that way you can see the whole thing. And I wish there was a way you could just like zoom in on parts, but it's just like you have to just look at it one whole fell swoop. And so, real quick, if you didn't know, the big red line is the temperature line, and the green line is the dew point. And really, what we want to look at for Cape, since somebody asked a minute ago, when we zoom in here, we want to see the difference between the environmental temperature of the air versus what should happen when I mean, if we want to get into dry adiabatic lapse rates and moist adiabatic lapse rates. We sure could. But the characteristics of air when before it's saturated and after it's saturated in the atmosphere. And so, anyways, like I said, we're getting pretty technical now. But anyways, that's how you kind of read QTs. I would love to. You guys tell me. You guys tell me if I would love to like do some just like webinars down the road and just teaching folks how to read SQTs because you see these thrown around a lot. And if you don't know how to read them or don't know what any of it means, it's kind of useless to you. And these things are like gold, man. Once you understand how to read them, I can look at all of the other graphics that puts colors on the screen, but this kind of tells me everything I need to know. All right, so we'll just have to wait and see on this one, but it looks like timing is going to be again, it's going to be in that overnight hour again. So, looking at the bigger picture to review, if I go back here and I look at tomorrow's risk, looks like we're going to have storms in the area as early as 11 p.m. Right there, initially, there could be enough juice in that atmosphere for some kind of spin. We'll just have to wait and see. Looks like that cape pretty much dies off the farther east you go. It's really that difference between the slight and the marginal risk if we go all the way back to the very beginning of the video. Um, that being said, our next weather system looks like again it's going to be moving in overnight. So if you do not sleep well or if you work nights, it could be very active. If you're working nights, I guess you'd be watching me at work right now, wouldn't you? So, but it puts everything off to the south, whereas with HRRR, it's got a lot more stuff going on here. Yeah. So, be interesting to see what this looks like. So, what'll happen tomorrow is Elijah's going to go ahead and do the severe cast in the morning. And he'll kind of keep you updated throughout the day because of my job and it's TCAP testing. If there's any teachers out there watching, hey, I feel you. We get it. But anyways, I'm kind of out of it until at least midday so I can look at stuff. And so Elijah's going to keep you up to date during the morning time into the afternoon. And then basically kind of here's how tomorrow goes and with any severe weather situation. Okay. So the first thing is a mesoscale discussion. So a mesoscale discussion simply means that this is an area that the Storm Prediction Center is looking at to possibly issue a watch. Or if a watch has already been issued, then they're looking at targeting storms. Like I don't know if you guys watched the weather last night, but man, what a crazy storm that was headed into Dallas or the Fort Worth area yesterday. They put mesoscale discussions on even storms, but usually a mesoscale discussion predates the watch of any kind, a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch, and then we get into the warnings. And so, if that happens, Elijah and I will be here for you guys through it all until it gets all the way past our viewing area, however long that takes. So, I appreciate a lot of you guys staying and watching. I know this is like a different. This is your first taste of me getting into the nitty gritty. It is 9:34. I told you I would stay to 30, almost 30 minutes, and like clockwork, I ran 5 minutes over, but that's not a big deal. So I'm just looking through the comments and making sure you guys uh, have any more questions. Uh, Danny, I appreciate you. Thank you for breaking all this down. See some Tullahoma people on here. Shelbyville, has it ended now? No. Well, this is about ready to end, but it's just getting cooking. Thanks for explaining, Lee. Appreciate it. No problem. That's something that's something that I will do. And y'all like, oh, you may end up with a degree before it's all done with me. Um, I must have dropped off for a second. Lynchburg, Bledsoe, Tullahoma. Watching from McMinnville, yeah. You got Bedford County. Okay. Yeah. Mackenzie's like she's watching from McMinnville, but viewing from my family in Bedford. That's great. And Mackenzie, if you don't, I'm pretty sure you probably have Upper Cumberland weather. Anthony does a really good job with Warren County. So have our stuff too. But when that weather rolls out and it gets into Warren County, definitely be following him too. Lefford Mill area, Coffee, Tullahoma. Cool. Lots of people. Rutherford County, Bedford County, Moore County. It's awesome. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, no problem. Do you guys have any more questions for me? Otherwise, we're gonna call it a night and we're gonna hop off here and I am just gonna kick back, relax. It's funny. Um, for humor, I guess you can humor me for just a minute. Like, I'm sitting here doing all this weather stuff and getting ready for tonight, and then I still have projects and stuff to do. I've my classes end Friday for the spring semester, and I'm sitting here doing the analysis of April 27th, 2011. Okay. So it's like, this is kind of freaky that I'm doing the analysis of that storm almost on the 15-year anniversary, and we have severe weather. So it's like, I was in it, man. I had my Weather Channel playlist going on. If you guys don't have that, Spotify, probably most of you do. If you dig the 90s stuff, if you saw the intro sequence and was like, oh, dude, that's pretty cool. The Weather Channel has literally gone onto Spotify, created their own official channel, and uploaded every single song that they could find that they put in those local on the eights back in the day. So if you are in for smooth jazz, that's it, man. All right. So, all right. I appreciate you guys very much. Again, I'm Christopher. I'm the kind of the newer face around. If you're over there on Southern Tennessee weather watching me, honored to be able to do this. And so, typically, what happens is that we will. I will do this anytime we're typically under a slight risk. If it's marginal, I don't usually touch it. But if it's a slight risk, I'll go into it. So probably it looks like tomorrow we'll have to see what the Storm Prediction Center looks like. I may be on here again, but probably a little bit less time. We'll go and break down because I'm still looking at the HRRR on screen of the storm system for going into Tuesday night, Wednesday. I'll break that down a little bit more for you as well. And that, like I said, that's just something I like to do. You can't do this on broadcast TV, guys. This is what makes Southern Tennessee weather unique is we can take the time, sit down. You guys can do whatever you're doing, have me on and learn a little bit more about the weather and learn really about our chances. So. All right, guys. Well, look, I don't hear anybody else with questions, so I'm going to go ahead and get off for this evening. I want to say thank you guys for humoring me with your time. There's lots of other things you could do probably tonight, so I appreciate it. I mean, you could have watched Touched by an Angel. It was out there or something, or well, yeah, you could still watch America's Funniest Home Videos now. That's still on. But anyways, I will check back in with you guys tomorrow. Elijah will have the severe weather information, any updates from the SBC as they change the outlooks. He'll have all that tomorrow morning, and you may or may not see my face tomorrow. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I tell everybody that you pray for the best, hope for the best, but you plan for the worst just in case. So I would say this before we leave. I will say this one more thing to the 47 of you that are watching. This is a good reminder. That if you do not have the Southern Tennessee weather app, you need to get it. But also with that, I would also encourage you to consider getting a NOAA weather radio if you don't have one. If these things come through in the night, my phone alarm does wake me up, but if you get an alert on your phone, you may not get woken up from that. And so the NOAA weather radio, like redundancy is key. And I will say it till the day I die. Everybody needs a NOAA weather radio because that thing will go off in the middle of the night, wake you up, annoy the crap out of you, but do it for all the right reasons to keep you safe, to let you know what's going on. That wakes you up, boom, pop up in the app, and Elijah and myself will be there. So, all right, guys. Have a great rest of your evening. Rest easy. I will see you all probably at some point tomorrow. Okay. Bye.